In a futuristic dystopia, people are referred to as members and their lives are governed by an administration called the collective. Most of the diseases have been cured, there is no violence and crime, but at the same time emotions have been eliminated and now it is forbidden to show emotions or come into contact with other participants. There is no love or marriage and children are born through artificial insemination whenever a particular woman is asked to contribute to society. There are also no flowers or decorations, everyone wears white and has no personality. Even the food is boring and the only hobbies they have are simple, repetitive tasks like solving simple puzzles. They also have chips on their arms so that computers can track their daily lives, and this chip must be scanned every time they ride the train or enter work building. One of these members is Silas, who follows the same routine. Like everyone else, wakes up, makes his bed, has a delicious breakfast, and goes to work. Nobody talks on the train and they are silent while working. All around them, screens remind participants to report any unusual behavior, even something as insignificant as a slight smile. Also appearing on the screens is an illness called SOS mention, or the inclusion syndrome, which causes 55,555 people to regain their feelings. Participants are reminded to seek medical attention if they experience any signs of a symptom. Silas works as an illustrator for Atmos and spends his day drawing on the screen. His art is in stark contrast to the world he lives in, probably because he was inspired by the documentary which he listens to while working. This documentary chronicles the Great War, a time in when the collective struggled to separate themselves from the peninsula, a chaotic place where the feelings are not suppressed. There are two moments during the day when workers talk to each other. Firstly, this happens during project meetings where ideas can be discussed and Silas listens to Naya's suggestions with the utmost attention. The second point is lunch, where everyone sits at a sufficient distance from each other. However, their conversation is not very lively and they stick to factual topics such as a colleague returning from work to get pregnant. At the end of day, Silas goes home and watches as officers arrest a sick couple. Later in his apartment, Silas continues his boring routine, a meal prep, solving another general puzzle, and goes to bed. It's the same daily routine as everyone else in the building. The next day, Silas watches the news from and learns that the sick couple will be sent to S-defect emotional neuropathy (DN) unit. Participants are again reminded of any signs of SOS remembered both by their own students and those of their classmates. Later at work, an employee quits his job after falling from a roof, a common occurrence in this society. The employees go to the window to look at the body, but no one bothers except Naya, who makes very small gestures that Silas notices. However, he keeps this information to himself. Afterwards, all of Amos' employees meet for another meeting. While everyone's attention is on the screen, Silas takes the opportunity to observe Nia and decide if she is sick. At some point, something begins to change within him when he looks at a beautiful woman for a long period of time. Later at S' house, Silas is nervous at dinner because he can't stop thinking about Nia and he even has trouble solving the puzzle. The next day, during another work meeting, Silas continues to disconnect and has to be scolded. That night, he dreams that he is standing on a roof and just as he is about to fall, wakes up. This is the first time he has had a dream, so he feels so confused and disoriented that he runs into a wall. The next morning, he discovers a bruise on his forehead and goes to medical center where he sees a woman crying while watching a video about SOS looks at, and its 4 stages symptoms. A man named Jonas asks Silas what stage he is in, but Silas denies that he is sick. Jonas then explains that he is in the 2nd stage. Afterwards, Silas sees the doctor and tells him about the nightmare. So he immediately gets tested and the doctor confirms he does have SOS. Silas is scared for a moment because he thinks he'll be sent to a DN facility, but the doctor assures him they're working on a cure so he'll be fine as long as his symptoms don't get out of hand. Then Silas checks his home computer and notices his profile already says he has stage 1 SOS. Later at work, someone asks Silas why he has a bruise, so Silas lies and says he got it from a Tai Chi class, not wanting to reveal his illness yet. His coworker doubts him, but to Silas' surprise, Nia cuts in and confirms his story. During lunchtime, a bumblebee lands on their table and Nia traps it in a glass before letting it go. As she explains how strange it is that bees can fly, Silas can't stop looking at her. After work, Silas needs to pick up his glasses and medications at medical center. At home, he watches the SOS video. He explains that it is a genetic problem. The gene, which is supposed to suppress emotions, is faulty and only the inhibitor can delay the worst symptoms. The next day at work, Silas continues to notice many new things that distract him from his homework. He loses concentration and experiences depressive moments, and he also becomes very sensitive to light. When he manages to work, his drawings are very unconventional. Later, during a bathroom break, Silas runs into Nia and they have a very awkward conversation. Afterwards, Silas begins to follow Nia's number without her noticing until she disappears into her apartment. This experience leads Silas to decide to stop taking the medication. The next day, Silas switches roles with a colleague with target number to ask Nia to check his work. Nia finds this strange, but helps him anyway. This is noticed by his boss, who makes sure they don't communicate for fun. Nia gives very good reviews, but Silas focuses more on her face. He becomes so obsessed with her that later that night Silas enters an empty office and uses Nia's computer to listen to her recordings. At the next work meeting, Silas accidentally spills his drink, and when a colleague helps him, his glasses are also discovered. Now Silas has no choice but admit that he has SOS. And even though he swears he's not contagious, they decide to separate him from the group. Silas is hurt because Nia agrees to the idea. From now on, Silas works in one corner away from the others. After work, Silas continues to follow Nia. This time she notices, surprises him from behind and threatens to report him if he doesn't stop. When Silas says that Nia also has SOS, she tries to deny it, so Silas points out that if she hadn't been injured, she would have already reported him to. Not knowing what to say, Nia leaves. The next day, Silas and Nia act like nothing happened, and Nia tries to avoid interacting with him as much as possible. However, Silas notices her hand fidgeting violently, which confirms his theory. Later, when they are alone in the office, the tension is so great that Nia runs to hide in the bathroom. Sia follows her number and they both stand awkwardly in the same booth trying to figure out how they feel. After some hesitation, Silas touches her hands and face, not believing how amazing it is. Finally, Nia gives in, leans into him, and they hug for the first time in their lives. As they enjoy the warmth, Nia confesses that she has been sick for a year. She's very scared and waiting for the medicine, so she tells Silas that they can't be together. Silas accepts this but cannot resist kissing her before leaving. The next day, Nia can't stop thinking about Silas, even though she asked about the distance. Silas returns every look and follows her until they are alone again in toilet cubicle. They are so close that they almost merge and feel the warmth of human touch. Unfortunately, the moment is interrupted when someone enters S bathroom, leaving Silas to emerge from the stall alone to find it is his manager, who asks Silas if he has thought about deleting himself yet. Silas explains that he will not think about this until he reaches the later stages. On the way out of, the manager sees that Nia's computer is on and says that there are rumors that Silas is spying on Nia, so he should stop if he doesn't want to be reported. The next day after work, Nia waits for Silas in the cabin, but he doesn't show up. They later meet on the way and discuss the threat from S manager. Silas announces that he will ask for a transfer to another job, and Nia leaves, without saying anything. When she arrives at her apartment, she suffers a complete nervous breakdown. The next morning, Silas announces his resignation, saying that he needs to find a job where his illness won't cause problems for his colleagues. Silas soon begins work at the reservation, and Nia must look for a replacement for him. She doesn't handle the situation well because she thinks of Silas every time sees his cup, which she ends up eating again. Their work performance also declines. Sometime later, Silas meets Jonas and finally tells Nia everything he has been feeling lately. Jonas understands this immediately because he also had a relationship with women, but unfortunately their story didn't end very well. Then Jonas invites Silas to the self-help group for people with SOS1, and Silas happily goes to the meeting. The people there are afraid of DN, and when Silas asks, Bess explains that half of the people sent there end up deleting themselves and the other half are forced to undergo emotion-suppressing treatment. Bess is a doctor who gives her SOS hidden. This allowed her to be close to the patients in the facility. When Silas returns home, Nia is waiting for her. She is incredibly nervous and upset, so Silas holds to calm her down. This simple touch develops into something more, and soon they're doing the naughty number together. Once they're done, they're so excited by the experience that they discuss the topic love and vow never to be apart again to be. From then on, they behave like strangers during the day, but at night they reunite as lovers. They go on secret dates and get to know each other better by sharing aspects of their lives, like dinner and showers. Soon Nia's mood returns and her performance improves. Sometimes when they meet on the street during the day, their hands touch. One day, a group of officers make a loud statement: the team has a cure for SOS found. Silas and Naya agree that neither of them wants the cure, and Silas takes Naya to a support group so they can share the news together they plan to escape from. To the peninsula, the others try to convince them that it's a bad idea, and Bess tells the story of a man from who died in the attempt, but the couple doesn't change their minds. When Jonas sees their strong love, he agrees to help and organizes their escape within 3 days. When Nia arrives at the office the next day, the alarm rings and an officer immediately takes her away. Later, meets Nia Silas and tells him the terrible news she is called to the conception service. This means that Nia cannot leave as she will not be allowed on the trains. However, Silas has an idea she should go to see a doctor and get tested because as soon as they see she will send an SOS receive. She will no longer be eligible. The next day, the doctor at the medical center tests Nia's blood and is shocked to find that she is pregnant. Natural pregnancy is one of the worst crimes in this society. Meanwhile, Silas waits for Nia at the meeting point, but she doesn't show up and he gets worried. He goes to the medical center and is upset to find Nia being taken to the DN hospital. Means, once there, she is held back and treated like an outcast for what she has done. Bess soon discovers she is there and contacts the others. When he returns to Silas, he asks Jonas for help and Jonas assures him that he and Bess are already working on it, so he has to wait now. On the morning of, Bess uses her privilege as a doctor to pick Nia up from her room and bring her to Jonas and the others. Bess explains that they will be swapping Nia's body with a woman who recently killed herself and inserts a new chip into Nia's arm to tell her the dead woman's identity. After disguising herself as and feeling better, Nia thanks Bess and runs away. Thanks to the new chip, she manages to get through the gates of station. Jonas' group also tries to get out, but the path is blocked by officers, so they try to use the elevator instead. Unfortunately, they find a member who immediately reports them to and they are arrested. Silas soon learns that Jonas' group has been arrested and flees to DN opportunity to ask about Nia and the guard tells him she died. Unable to cope with his broken heart, Silas climbs to the roof of the company building and contemplates self-destruction. However, after much hesitation, he leaves. Meanwhile, Nia goes to Silas' apartment to wait for him, but he doesn't show up. In the end, she got tired of waiting for and went to look for him in the sanctuary, but he wasn't there either. Now that she knows what else to do, she returns to Silas. As night falls, Silas finally returns and Nia runs into his arms, but he barely reacts. Nia takes a closer look at him and discovers that he has taken the drug to cure the SOS signal, leaving him with only 5 hours of emotions left. Determined to win, Nia tells him to fight the cure by continuing to touch it, and they agree to escape anyway. In the end, they fall asleep together and hope that their hug supports his feelings. In the morning, Nia wakes up alone in bed. Silas woke up early and followed S' daily routine, so he was already dressed and ready to go. He explains that he remembers the love they shared but no longer feels it. However, they still leave together because Nia doesn't give up. As they walk to the train station, Nia feels a great distance between them and worries whether this number will work. When they get on the train, they sit in silence as if they were back at the beginning, and Nia's worry grows. But hope slowly returns as Silas reaches out to touch her arm. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.